Hello, fellow travelers, and welcome to the very first episode of Souljourner Truth. Yay! I'm Kimberley, and I am so grateful that you are here. This space is for all of us who are curious and maybe even a little skeptical about spirituality. Maybe you're wondering what spirituality even means. That's coming in the next episode. Maybe you feel pulled to live a more awake, more aligned, more deeply connected life, but you just don't know why. Maybe you even have a spiritual practice, or maybe you don't, but it's not working. Or you feel overwhelmed because there are literally like 10,000 experts out there telling you to spin plates on your head, chant 20 different mantras, and take a bath in cold champagne. I have literally done all of those things in a desperate attempt to manifest the man of my dreams, put $1 million in my bank. You fill in the blank. So maybe maybe you're wondering who's legit and who's actually just performing spirituality for followers. Maybe you simply just need someone who understands what you mean when you say, there's gotta be more to life than this. If any of that sounds like you, then welcome. You are in the right place. And let me say this up front, and I'll probably say it 1,000 more times in our time together. But I am not a guru. I am not an influencer, and I'm not trying to be. And honestly, at this point, I probably have more questions than answers. But my sincere desire is that by walking together and learning from one another, we will all become more peaceful, more loving, more joyful, more abundant humans. And in so doing, we'll make this world a better place. So here's my story, the short version, although it's still kind of long, but the short version. My spiritual journey was not an Instagram journey. In fact, it began with discomfort. I didn't grow up in a religious household. I actually always felt uncomfortable in church. So by the time I was a teenager, I basically considered myself to be an atheist. Then in like the late 90s, I know, it's a long time, a friend handed me a copy of The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. I didn't think of the book as spiritual. In fact, I didn't even use the word spirituality back then, but it touched something in me. I was touched again in the early 2000s when I started taking yoga classes and studying meditation with Light Watkins, the wonderful Light Watkins. Around that time, my grandma, she passed away. So during those early meditations, I had full-on conversations with Grandma. I also had some pretty wild astral travel experiences. Like, I'm not kidding, wild. These experiences were completely inexplicable, but they were as real to me as my breath. My heart was opening in a way I didn't know was possible. It wasn't loud or dramatic. It was just a quiet certainty rising from somewhere deep within me. It wasn't something I thought. It was just suddenly something I knew. And the only thing I could call it was spirit. Shortly thereafter, I separated from my then husband, and I started reading what I thought were simple self-help books by Esther and Jerry Hicks. You know, The Law of Attraction, Ask and It Is Given. I watched The Secret. I even dated a self-described monk who kept encouraging me to take a deeper look at my life, which was straight up annoying, no lie. But again, I didn't know that any of this was spiritual, but I was opening. And then after years of circling and false starts, I walked into the Agape International Spiritual Center for the first time. And something in me said, girl, you are home. Fast forward a few years, and by all external measures, my life looked perfect. I had almost everything my heart desired. I had stepped into a successful career as a lawyer. I owned a beautiful home, made more money than I could spend, and I'm a spender. Status, security, relationships, everything the world told me I should want. But internally, I kept asking, is this it? Is this all there is? And in late 2022, the universe answered, literally answered in a huge way by sucking the wind out of every single one of my sails. After almost a decade of the steady climb up the big law ladder, one devastating review from a partner who just didn't like me shook me to my core and made me question my entire professional future. So I spent every day from like Thanksgiving to New Year's curled up in the fetal position on my big blue couch, crying, depleted, unsure of who I was and what I was going to do next. But in the middle of that collapse, something inside whispered to me, go home, it said. Focus on your spiritual practice. So I listened, and I did. And that whisper changed everything. What followed wasn't a dramatic transformation. It was a series of subtle, sacred realignments, spiritual breadcrumbs pulling me forward. It was me finally asking, who the hell or what the hell is a Ram Dass? And then listening to hundreds of hours of his lectures. It was me finally taking a 20 years in the making trip to India. It was me reading every book on spirituality I could find, listening to all of the podcasts. It was me literally doing all the things. It was as if Spirit was saying, wake up, I've been waiting for you. So I kept going, and slowly the universe began to reveal what I call everyday miracles, synchronicities, kindnesses, intuitive knowings, and moments of clarity. And all I want to do is to share it with you. This program is my open invitation for you to walk with me, to explore spirituality in a grounded, accessible way, to talk about the books and ideas that move us, the moments that awaken us, the questions that challenge us, the practices that help us come home to ourselves. Thank you for listening. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for believing in peace, love, abundance, joy for yourself and for all beings. Thank you so much for walking with me today. And remember, the practice is just practice. So no judgment, only grace. Until we walk again, see you next week.